Good morning. It is Thursday. I cannot believe that I'm pretty sure since I don't work, but more so I haven't worked in 13 years, right? But the last, I'd say 6 months, I lose track of what day it is. And yeah, the day and it's weird. It's weird. I've totally lost track of days and dates. And now I find myself going to my tablet or my phone just to see what date it is and the day. Very weird. To me, today I thought was Wednesday. So it's just weird. Very weird. It's getting more so. Anybody else know that? Notice that? I tried to make a video the other day, but for some reason it wouldn't let me combine different things. So I had to delete it. So this video is just going to be just a chat, I guess. I don't know if I showed this. I don't think I did. I know it showed it on my Facebook, but this is one of my latest jewelry. Is that not the cutest? Chocolate bunny with pearl bracelet. I've made a couple of those. I've made a lot of earrings, and I'm going to keep making more. I'm trying to empty my stash. These little, get the bumblebee the right way. Come on, lay the right way. These little bumblebee earrings. I have a bracelet and a necklace that I'm going to be making, so that'll be a complete set. I have just been busy, like I said, making jewelry, and I'm loving it. And really what I'm trying to do is delete my stash. I tried to sell my stash, but I didn't have any luck. And now that I've been going through my stash, I'm almost wondering if I thought that I had more than what I did. So I might have put a price up that was a little high. So I'm going to go through this, use what I want to use, organize it, and then try to get rid of it again. I don't want no more stuff laying around my house. And I don't make that much more jewelry. And what I want to make, I can just purchase like kits or something. And then it'll be a limited amount. You won't have the same stuff. Okay, I'm trying to cover every color. This is like an orange, and I don't know if you can tell, but that's like a brown little rhinestone in the middle. So I'm keeping myself busy doing that. It isn't going to be too much longer. I started planting some flowers. I planted cosmos, and what the heck was the other one? I don't know. Cosmos was one. Zinnias. And my tomatoes I haven't been taking very care of, but they're still growing. I should have some baby tomatoes soon. It still continues to be warm here in Wisconsin. In fact, we are going to be getting our golf carts ready and put those out. No more packing those away. Slowly starting to dismantle the cat's house. I'm not going to totally take it down, because anyone that lived in Wisconsin for any length of time knows that we will get cold again, and we will probably get some snow. It'll go quick, but we'll get it. So the cats still need some shelter. So, but we've been taking down like pieces of it. So, they will still have their shelter, but not as intense as, when it's winter and it could be 30 below. I've never seen a winter like this in my lifetime. I know we've broken tons of records. There's a lot of firsts in Wisconsin and maybe other states. While I love it, it is really just odd. All the trees are bloomed. They're not fully bloomed, but the buds are popped. All the spring birds are back. You can hear the frogs and all the stuff at night. It's wonderful, but it like I said, it's very strange. What was I going to talk about? I had an idea that I wanted to talk about, but I think I need to be in a different mindset. I wanted to talk about, for some odd reason, my foster parents and my foster childhood came to my mind the other night. And I want to do a talk on aging out in foster care, what it's like. I went in foster care at the age of 15, and I left at the age of 18. And I want to do a YouTube on aging out in foster care, and from a foster care child's perspective, which I'm sure many have done that, but I want to do my own. Like a lot of people have asked me, like, why? I believe that I left my foster home, if I remember right, and I may be a little bit off by a day or two, but not much. I left the foster home I went in on the day of my 18th birthday. And which was pretty shocking to everybody. You know, I moved in with my cousin Rose and her friend, and I started paying rent, and I was still in high school. So I was in high school working, going to school, working, taking buses because I didn't have a car, taking buses, footing it, and didn't hitchhike ever, but I walked, took buses, begged for rides, back and forth all over the town I lived in to get to I had 2 or 3 jobs. Went to school from like 7 in the morning to noon, and then went to my jobs, got home about 8, 9 at night, did whatever homework I had, went to bed. That was my life from February until graduation. I don't know many high school kids that are in apartments. There may be some, but I did that many years ago. And it's coming up on, I believe, 51 years that I went into foster care. And I couldn't sleep the other night, so I looked up my social worker that worked with me while I was in my home, and then got me into foster care. 2 foster homes he got me into. Well, you know, they had a one temporary, and then you had to go into wait for the permanent. So I looked him up, assuming he'd be dead. He's not. He's alive. And he must not have been too far away from my age because his mom just passed. But anyway, he is alive. He's still in the same town that I was in. I looked him up. He has become an artist for some of the more, prominent's not the right word, but more of the fancier country clubs in Racine. And I contacted him on Facebook. Now, he hasn't posted on his Facebook since 2013, but I do know he's alive because his mother passed not that long ago, and his name was listed as a survivor. I'm hoping he pops on his Facebook and sees my message and contacts me, because I actually would like to drive down there and spend some time with him. I have not seen him since I was probably 15. And I'd just be curious to hear the social worker side of the story, you know, because, you know, back then they can't tell you everything. But I'd also like to know his perspective of what he thought of me as a 15-year-old girl, and, you know, my parents, the foster parents I was in. I don't think he ever married or had a family. So if you guys can send up a little good word with God up there that this man will contact me, I would absolutely love it. The judge that was on my case has passed, and I was going to contact him too, but he's passed. And back in them days, they really didn't put you in foster care easily. And I remember saying to that judge, Judge Algram, if you put me in a foster home, you'll never see me again. If you put me back home, you will see me again. And I said it nicely, and that's coming from a very strong, tired, and just wanting a better life 15-year-old. And he honored that, and he put me in foster care. And to this day, I'll never understand why he listened to me. I don't know if he felt something or felt some sincerity. He never did see me again. I never went back into, I never got into trouble. I aged out in foster care. But I would like to talk more about that from my perspective as that 15-year-old, 16-year-old, and then why I left at 18. I did remain on pretty friendly terms with my foster parents, but not in the way that I think that they had hoped, or maybe their expectations of me. And I remember for the longest time, the expectations that were had of me weighed heavy on me. And as I got older, it wasn't until probably, I'd say, well into my 40s that it really hit me how any expectations on me as a damaged 15-year-old were way out of whack. I don't blame my foster parents for that. I want to get more in depth on this, but I'm just not in the right frame of mind. But they didn't have the training. You know, it's kind of like the same way with my mom. I don't have a lot of bad feelings towards my mom because she just didn't get the help that she needed. They didn't have good help. And I believe it's the same with the foster parents that I had 50 years ago. They didn't have the trainings and the resources, the knowledge, all the things that they might have today that they didn't have back then. So I can't blame my foster parents for having certain expectations or things that they had hoped I'd be able to do that I just simply could not. Still cannot now. But we're way past that, aren't we? But I've never talked to them about it. They're both still alive. Every few years, when they're passing through on their way to their winter and summer places, they still live. They have a home in Racine where I was, and then they have a winter home in Arizona. They've contacted me twice recently, and both times they contacted me to come over and visit. Both times, Greg was either in the hospital or on his way out, and that's when Greg was really sick. And I simply couldn't have anyone over because, well, I don't think I ever got into that, but his whole insides had come out, and they put him back together wrong, and it was just an awful situation. And he was down and out for probably, I'd say, a good 2 years, maybe longer. So, and he is, like I said, he's my legs. So I really couldn't have anybody over because I wasn't able to do anything, food prep or anything. And I had home workers coming in taking care of him. So it just didn't work out at that time. And I do hope that soon they'll be able to again, because right now we're both doing okay. But like I said, it's not as close as a relationship as I think maybe they had hoped it would have been. Like, I know they used to call me their daughter, and I don't think you would do that, now, today. Maybe I'm wrong. But when you take in a 15-year-old, that 15-year-old is well rooted in her birth home. So I couldn't let go of my birth family, despite how bad it was. Those were still my siblings. I still had my grandma, my aunts, my uncles. My parents, I easily could have let go of. I did. But for the rest of the family, it was pure torture. And I did end up doing awful lot of drugs when I first got into foster care. Right before foster care, I got into a lot of heavy drug use and drinking. And I look back and I think the biggest reason for that was missing my siblings. I was the oldest of 8, and I was the caretaker of my siblings. I took care of the babies when my mom couldn't, which was quite often because she was an alcoholic. So that was probably the hardest thing for me, was being separated from my siblings, and my parents wouldn't let me see them. And my foster parents surely didn't even try to deal with my birth family. And I don't blame them, because my mom you might have been able to reason with, but my dad was pure evil and mean. And I wouldn't expect anyone to even speak to him. You couldn't reason with that man. He was the pits. So, but anyway, like I said, I got to thinking about that the other night, and I sent a quick little message off to my social worker. And like I said, please send up a little prayer, because I really would like to talk to him. I think it would help me a lot with some, maybe put some closure on some things from my teen years. And it's not important that I do, because I'm way past all that, but I think it would just be interesting, and it might help me personally. And like I said, it's really not a big deal because I'm past all that, and I'm close to the gates of eternity. So I guess I'm just curious. But I wish I'd done this 20, 30 years ago, but I look back at so many things I wanted to do, and things like, even with my life, like, I didn't know how creative of a person I was. I didn't know that I liked crafts. I might have went somewhere with some of this stuff. I might have opened up a brick and mortar store. I might have took more classes. I don't know. I just know that I have a lot of resentment towards Greg still, not just for, the losses financially, but also because I think there's some huge losses that he don't understand that froze me, because I was always trying to keep a roof over me and my kids' head. I was always trying to stay on top of bills. I was always trying to earn a little bit of money so that we would have food and birthdays and Christmases. And that is a fact. And that was rough, because I had 5 kids, and it was important to me to be there at home for them. So I had to find jobs that worked around them. Not, I didn't want daycare and all that stuff, babysitters. So I was always looking for jobs, and God did provide those jobs. And I always did make sure I had, once I realized the type of man that I married, I made sure I always had a stash for food, birthdays, Christmas, whatever. My kids were not going to go without, because their father was a moron. And I think what else happened with that is me trying to keep our heads above water and keep my kids some type of a normal life. I lost track of me. I couldn't think about me and what I wanted to do, when my kids got older and didn't need me around so much. Like, what would I have liked to have done? I had no clue. I was 100% clueless. When people would say, well, don't you want to work? I didn't want to just work. I wanted a career. I wanted something that I loved and something that gave me joy and peace, because that was things that I didn't have in my life. So that's what I wanted. I didn't want to work. I mean, that's exactly what I ended up doing. I ended up in a job where I just worked for the paycheck and the insurance, and there was not a lot of joy in that job. And I sometimes believe that God allowed me to get sick to get me out of that job. Otherwise, I might have died there, because I had to stay for the insurance. And the money was good. The money was good, but the work was a trigger for me, because it was like my childhood. And then the way that we had to work with our families, I worked in exactly what I grew up, children in foster care. I was the person that did the visits and spent time with the families and stuff like that. So I was right on the front lines of child neglect and abuse and idiot parents. And the way that the county expected us to work with them totally went against like my beliefs. And because I grew up in foster care, aged in foster care, grew up in a home, where I was molested, beat, whatever, went without food, went without a lot of things, I looked at things differently. Like, I was a worker that didn't always believe reunification of a family was a good thing. In fact, most of the parents that I worked with at the county, I would think most of those families to this day, I still believe, probably should have been disbanded and the children should have been adopted out. Because, now, like, I look back, I sometimes go look at some of the families that I worked with. Their children and even grandchildren, because they're having them so young, are now in the system. So if I were still working, which I would probably been retired within the last couple months, or who knows, maybe I would have held on a little bit more, I don't know. But I would be working with the people that I worked with their kids and their grandkids, and I would be sick to my stomach. It's the same crap. It never got better. If something doesn't get better, don't you think you're doing something not right? So I always felt like a lot of the stuff that we did was not pushing people to make better lives for themselves. And so it wasn't a great job. But anyway, I'm kind of rambling again. But I shouldn't have ended up in that job. I should have ended up in something different. I am thankful that I did, because it did sure help me financially when I got sick. The benefits and stuff are what kept me, because once again, my husband didn't plan for retirement, the future, nothing. And if I hadn't worked at the county where I worked, I wouldn't have had the benefits I had for the last, gosh, I think I had it 12 years, 11 years. And I wouldn't have that. So I'm thankful for it. But again, I had to suffer through something, because my choices were so limited, because I had a partner that was so destructive financially. But anyway, after I got sick and I had all this time, the creativity started coming out of me, and I noticed how much I enjoy it and thrive on it. And so I look with longing back that maybe I could have done something with that. And now I can't. I mean, I still could do some things, except, I can't walk very well. I'm limited in walking. And also, I never know daily how I'm going to feel. So me opening up a brick and mortar store for anything, or trying to commit to doing classes on things that I know, I think are mute, because like I tell my kids, even with my candle shed in the summer, I'm 100% unreliable. I try to open my candle shed on the weekends, and for me, it's more than just opening up the shed. I have to look presentable. I have to be feeling well. And last year was the worst year for my candle shed, because quite honestly, I didn't open it as much. And I want that to be different this year. I hope it can be, because that's the little piece of my creativity that I have. And it's how I earn extra money to supplement me and doing things in the winter. So it took me so long, after my kids grew up and got out of the home, and I didn't have to spend so much time child rearing, and then, not dealing with Greg's crap anymore. I was able to put more time and energy into focusing on myself. And that's when I learned the kind of person that I am, my personality and all that. And sometimes I get incredibly sad that was robbed of me, but who hasn't been robbed, right? We've all been robbed of something in our life, unless you're one of the lucky ones who married the perfect partner and everything went great. Your kids were great. Your marriage was great. Your finances were great. And you just sailed through life. There are a few like that. I wasn't one of them. I was one on the other end, and it was rough. So I know I've said more than I wanted to say, but that's what I want to do. I want to do a video on that. And if anyone has any questions or just thoughts on aging out in foster care and those types of things, please leave them in the comments. I'm going to do it. I hope to do it within the next few days. I just got to be in the right frame of mind. And I'm still honestly hoping that my former social worker gets back to me, because I'd like to be able to add that to the discussion, and I'm going to have to come to the point and realize that he may not, because maybe he doesn't ever go on his Facebook. So that's just a wing and a prayer. But anyway, I hope it's Thursday here. It's still a sunny, beautiful, it's awesome. Today my plans are to have my daughter and her family over for supper. And then this weekend I'm just going to do a little thrifting, and that's about it. I don't have no doctor appointments till end of April. Please ask everybody keep me in your prayers that my tumor markers stay the same or go down. I'm not ready to start another treatment. I don't even want to. But that's my update. Please leave me a comment if you have anything that you'd like to ask me about, my time in foster care, or if you have something to share. Please also share my videos. I still would like to grow my channel. It's been at a stall now for months, and I think YouTube itself is messing with people's channels, because I hear a lot of people saying that nothing's happening, and then a lot of people that I followed have just kind of disappeared, so I think they're frustrated too. Maybe YouTube got tired of paying people. Who knows? But either way, I'm just going to stick with it because I enjoy it. So have a great day. Like and share my video. Leave comments if you have anything on questions on aging out in foster care, or if you yourself had any experience, something you'd like to ask me. Talk to you soon.